Transabled woman who blinded herself with drain cleaner at 21 states, I should have been blind from birth. A woman has opened up on her drastic decision to pour drain cleaner into her eyes after dreaming of being blind since she was a child. Jewel Shuping, from North Carolina, was born healthy, but at the age of 21, she became obsessed with losing her sight. During an interview, she claimed she saw a psychologist whom she asked to pour drain cleaner into her eyes so that she could fulfill her lifelong dream. Ms. Shuping said she waited to seek medical attention and that doctors tried to save her eyesight, but she gradually lost it and is now almost completely blind. The woman, who is now 38, has body integrity identity disorder, BIID, a rare condition that causes people born with no disabilities to believe they are supposed to be disabled. During an interview with People, Ms. Shuping explained how she had been thinking about being blind since she was a child, adding that her mother would find her walking in the halls at night when she was 3 or 4 years old.
I first developed the idea that I need to be blind when I was around 6 years old. I was told by my mother that if I looked into the sun, I'd go blind, and so I stared into the sun for hours on end. Thinking about being blind made me feel comfortable. I was blind simming, which is pretending to be blind. Becoming blind was definitely a difficult decision to make. I tried to avoid it, but it kept coming up in my head, and by the time I was 21, it was a non-stop alarm that was going off.
She explained, "By the time I was 6, I remember that thinking about being blind made me feel comfortable." When she was a teenager, Ms. Shuping bought a white cane and learned to read Braille, becoming fluent by the age of 20. Then in 2006, she claimed she found a psychologist, but refused to give their name, who understood her condition and agreed to pour drain cleaner into her eyes after putting in numbing eye drops.
9 years ago, Jewel took the drastic decision to blind herself, and she researched the method she would use.
I found that lye is very painful, although it does get the job done. I found that drain cleaner is little less painful, although it does a lot of damage to the eye. Because drain cleaner was easily available to me, I went with that.
She found a psychologist willing to help her, and after 2 weeks of working together to make sure she was ready, they carried out Jewel's plan.
I laid down on the sofa, and he sat next to me, dropped 2 drops into each eye. My eyes were screaming. I had some drain cleaner going down my cheek, burning my skin. In the moment, all I could think of was, I'm going blind, it's gonna be okay.
She said she waited for 30 minutes before going to a hospital, where hospitals tried to help her against her wishes, but by that time the damage was already done, and over the next 6 months, her eyesight gradually faded. She added, "I was so happy, I felt that this was who I was supposed to be." She also said, "I went blind on purpose, but I don't feel it was a choice."
So let's get this straight. She chose to be blind. Out of all the people out there that went blind with little control of their own, who would sell their mother's kidneys to be able to see even just one day, or people who have lost their sight who would pay millions of dollars just to see one day, 1 week, look at their mother one last time, look at their husband one last time, their wives, their children, see the sunset one time. She chose to be blind. Should we be angry with this person, or should we show empathy? Should we hold her accountable? Because now she's disabled. She's living off the government now. She's going to be able to get disability. And how many people out there are fighting for disability for legitimate reasons and can't get it? You didn't choose to have renal failure. You didn't choose to get injured at work. You didn't choose paralysis, but she chose to blind herself. Should we simply feel sorry for her and throw accountability out of the door? If you are disabled, not by choice, how does that make you feel? Would you have chosen to be born disabled? Would you have chosen to become disabled? Is this an insult to you? Should we as taxpayers pay for the choice that she made? I don't want to be merciless and attack her. The damage is done. But I certainly don't want other people following in her footsteps. She is not the first, and if we don't get our acts together, she won't be the last. We are enablers. We are almost as guilty as that psychiatrist was. Don't psychiatrists take an oath to do no harm? How was this helping a person? Dropping 2 drops of drain cleaner in each of her eyes, letting her eyes burn. I mean, on a scale from 1 to 10, that had to be a 12. Her cheeks were burning. And you let her sit there in agony for 30 minutes to ensure that the damage was done so irreversibly that it was a foregone conclusion that she was going to lose her eyesight. Where is the accountability for this psychiatrist, or did she just make it up? I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and say this person exists. I simply would have given her medical help, tried to save her eyesight. But if I was the government, I wouldn't have given her not 1 ounce of disability, no shelter, no food, until she gave up the name of the person who assisted her. Just like how women go to get child support, depending on the state that they're in. And they say, hey, give up the father. Give us the father, and we'll give you child support. We'll give you government assistance. It may not be said in those words, but it's heavily implied. There are a lot of women who have to give up the name of the father. I would have made her give up the name of the psychiatrist. That person would be jailed, imprisoned to be exact, stripped of their license or his license or her license, never to practice again, never to see the light of day again. We are letting people identify any way they want, but now you're seeing the harm in that. This is harmful. What if she was 12 and a psychiatrist agreed to help her?
When I woke up the following day, I was joyful until I turned on my back, opened my eyes, and could see the TV screen. I was so enraged, and I thought that it hadn't worked. Then over about 6 months, the sight in both eyes slowly went away. I was so happy. I felt that this was who I was supposed to be.
While Jewel was happy, her actions cost her her relationship with her family, but this was something she'd been building up to throughout her life.
Miss Shuping said her decision to blind herself ruined her relationship with her family. She explained that she initially told them she had lost her sight in an accident, but she claimed when her mother and sister learned the truth, they decided to cut ties with her. While she said she does not regret her decision, she said that anyone who has BIID should avoid doing what she did even though they feel a need to do it. She added she hopes one day there will be treatment for the complex condition. She said, "Don't go blind the way I did. I know there is a need, but perhaps someday there will be treatment for it. People with BIID get trained to run over their legs, freeze-dry their legs, or fall off cliffs to try to paralyze themselves. It's very dangerous, and they need professional help."
This cost her her family. Now that is harsh, and I am usually brutally direct. I hold most people accountable for their behavior. I won't make an exception in this case. And again, I do empathize. And guys, let's remember, we're now dealing with a person who is permanently disabled, life forever altered, right, wrong, indifferent. However we feel about her actions, we do need to have a little bit of empathy. But I do understand why her family disowned her and cut off all ties. I don't agree, though. And the reason I don't agree with it, that was the time she needed her family the most. What if cutting off the ties from her would have resulted in more extreme actions like suicide? If a person is mentally ill enough to allow someone to pour drain cleaner in their eyes, sit there and take the torture for 30 minutes, and did not want the doctors to save their sight, wake up angry because she can still see, that is a mentally ill person. We are enablers because we give everybody the right to identify however the way they want to identify. I do sincerely hope that her family and she patch up their relationship. 9 years had passed at least since she's blinded herself. I do wish that it would come out who the psychiatrist was and that person would lose their license and be jailed. What do some of you guys think of this? These people are so effing retarded. You have limbs for a reason. Effing use them. There are people in this world that can't use their limbs either by war or by birth. And you're over here making a mockery of these people who fight every day to make one of their days happy. I do not think we should be enabling these people. However, there is clearly mental illness behind this. They should have some therapy or care at least, because who in their right mind wants to have a leg amputated. Now, again, this was a person who basically, in essence, gouged out her own eyes. She didn't stab herself in the eyes, but you get the comparison. Why would you want to mutilate yourself? What next? Age identity for men that identify as babies? Species identity for the ones that think of themselves as animals, or number of limbs identity for the trans-able identified to get their healthy legs chopped off? What are we going to allow next? And finally, no bullshit. At no woke bullshit. It is a mental illness. Thinking you're something you're not is called a mental illness. What is the difference between a trans-abled person and a trans person? What is the difference that makes one mentally ill and the other not? So we're going to leave it there. Guys, what do you think? Was the family right to disown her? Should somebody go back 9 years and go arrest this psychiatrist? Should she be getting disability even though she self-inflicted her own disability? Those of you that are disabled, how do you feel about this? Are you angry? Or are you supportive? Or are you compassionate and moved by her plight? Did you know that trans-abled was even a thing before you listened to this episode? Are you afraid what's going to be the next trans identity? Do you think that it's going to get worse? Leave your comments. This person and people like her, they need help, and we are doing a disservice by not getting them that help and preventing things like this. Wise up, America, because we're looking pretty damn stupid.